Nothing up here? What you looking for?
So is it started?
Yes.
Just
This book. Let's see our new things that
the rabbit.
the rabbit. Oh, that's your rabbit. Hello. Hello. People are waving hi and saying hello.
Hello. Howdy. Grabbing stuff.
You're grabbing stuff so that we can begin.
Okay. Sort of misplaced one of my books. I don't know where it is.
Time to witness artistic wizardry.
Oh, that's very kind.
I don't know.
What's what?
Artistic wizardry.
Well, that's a very kind thing to say. I've been playing with those gel pens.
Oh, you've been
For-
playing with
for
the gel.
sketching, yeah.
Doro says I would get any of your artwork tattooed on him.
Oh, that would be awesome. Actually, I have people ask me about getting tattoos a lot. I tell them usually that that would be perfectly great. I'd just like to see a picture of it at some point, if possible.
Mm-hmm. What do you got there?
This is.
Oh,
the
that's your
sketchbook.
thumbnail.
This is where I've been actually kind of doing something I don't normally do, which is
Thumbnails.
sketch roughly stuff, which
Mm-hmm.
is cool because I've been using these Signo gel pens, which are pretty cool. So I have like black, the High-Tech C's, which are like the .25, which are real fine lines, and then these whites that actually work really well. And I have more colors coming. So,
You can't help yourself.
well, I'm using them now. So they have like these flesh tones, like khaki and beige, and khaki and beige.
Those are the only two flesh tones. You can
Well,
only be
and
either khaki or beige.
And they have a gray gel pen, and then they have these things called off black, which are like that's actually this color, which is like a dark blue, is what they're calling off black. But they have off black that's blue, red, different color.
Is this the other color?
These are the High-Tech C gel pen. These are High-Tech C pens, which there's a fine line and a 3.0. So these are really nice to sketch with too if you like doing
like
ink
the
work.
finest ones.
Well, you don't. I like sketching with the slightly fatter one, but then obviously the finer ones if we're going
All
into
right,
detail.
let's look at the sketches you've done with them.
Well, I haven't done anything that's supposed to be finished, but
Right.
like the closest one would
I was looking at the one that
be
you
like
just covered.
like that. Like that's just a little. So
I
and
was
then
talking about that one.
this one was just something I was playing with to see how it worked on this this off-white paper. These cachet books, I think they're put up by Cachet is what they're called. Yeah, earthbound sketchbooks that are off-white. So you can draw on these with these look really good with like a sanguine,
Oh yeah.
like a red, or like the sepia, or on these. But they work with black too. I think like Joe Mena does a lot of sketching, or is it Paul Komoda does a lot of sketching on off-white paper.
Oh yeah.
And it's pretty cool because he does some stuff that almost looks like a finished painting. There are people online now doing these moleskins where they'll use these these ballpoint pens, and they'll do they look like classically painted things, but they're ballpoint pens.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Everyone's waving hi to you.
Oh, hello. Hi.
So you're.
That's a music list of things we're allowed to use. Some things we're allowed to use. I'm not going to tell anybody anything about who it is right now, but I'm doing an album cover for somebody, and they're giving me the permission to use some of their music in a video. So.
Oh man.
So,
We're gonna have to make.
I
Better,
won't
we're gonna have
say-
to make better videos. man.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to make a formal video, and we get to use their music for some of that because that's part of the deal. But I'm doing an album cover for them, and so we'll see how that. Once it turns out, that's when I'll tell everybody.
All right.
But,
So we're thinking about.
Well,
what
right
are
now
we
I'm
thinking
just going to
about?
sketch, but later tonight I'll be starting my EDO.
EDO?
Yeah. I have no idea what's in here right now. I'm just gonna open some. I could start with something new.
I can't even see. I can't even like peek over your. Hopefully everybody's week has been going good.
So this relates to that poem I was telling you about earlier.
Oh yes, the poem. That's a good one. I like that.
I have a monkey on my head.
Yes.
It's called So Funny It Hurts.
Yes.
You know, if I can only find a pencil.
That's funny. So this week he got. Nope, that one you've had.
What?
There's the magic eraser.
Oh, these are the
That's
fish bones that I got.
Yeah, we have the spine. Is that a new one?
No, this is from my little box of bones that
Box of
I bring
bones.
out. It's I don't know where I got this. Probably
I think
at
Ruth
some
got it for
fair
you.
or something. But it's and then there's a lot of rodentia bones as well. This is a rabbit, by the way,
There's a little rabbit.
from a shop on Etsy where they find roadkill and mummify it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got the mouse too. Let me get the mouse.
Oh, God.
The mouse is cool.
What? I'm cutting him off at some point.
So.
We're not going to have too much mummified roadkill in the house.
I was talking about this last night, or early this morning maybe.
I'm bored.
But they actually used to make something called Mummy Brown, which was an oil paint that was made with pitch, myrrh, and ground up mummies. Which
Zombie mouth. Yeah,
they don't-
anything
they don't-
comes back to life, we're going to be the first to go.
But look at it's beautiful though. Look at the mortal skeleton, the mortal structure you can see under the skin and all that is beautiful. You know, this was obviously something that crawled into a wall somewhere and died. But the thing is there's a lot of textural information and stuff you just can't make up. Randomness that's hard to come by when you're making stuff up on your own. So, but I'm definitely in the.
And you're gourd.
Oh, I got these too. I was going to tell people about this. They were asking about how to find reference for like horns and things. If you don't want to like spend a lot of money on horns, go on Etsy or eBay and look for people who sell gourd stems, because there's not a whole lot of difference. Even like deer horns look really close to this at the base where they flange, where they, you know, well, maybe not deer, but there are some animal horns that look like this as well. But they work perfectly well, as with a little bit of imagination and pushing them, you can turn these into any kind of a horn you want. Like this one's really kind of pretty.
That one's neat.
And these are just gourd stems. You might be able to even find them and pick them where you live, depending on where you are. And if you buy any, you know, at Halloween, like there are all kinds of gourds for sale everywhere. Just make sure you grab one that has a cool stem and keep it and dry it out. Mm-hmm. And then you have like a perfect, like a horn reference forever. But it's really cheap and easy to do. I think I got like these were a lot that I picked specifically. I think it was like $15 for all of these. But you can find them for more and less, you know, depending on where you are.
You are always so clever.
Well,
Nice.
I was just thinking about it because, I mean, I make up horns a lot, most of the time actually, but there are certainly things that I never think of that happen in reality, you know, where you might want to throw something like this in front of you to look at, but then make up your own kind of horn, but then use little bits of this as information to inform what you do in your drawing. You know, even this part, you know, which is really beautiful. I mean, this almost looks like you could make a stamp out of it, you know, for
Do
texture.
something.
Yeah, you could cast this in silicone, and then press a kneaded eraser into it and use it to lift up graphite and make a texture.
On your textures. You should get out your little silicone
Those
textures.
I don't use them all the time, but I do have them, and I do play with them on occasion. So. But anyway, so as it turns out, I have a lot of this stuff laying around the house. When you ask if I have reference, I don't always have it sitting in front of me, but for the nature of the videos, I brought stuff out. But it is sitting around, and it influences my visual language.
Right.
So,
Right.
but-
Meadowlark says that they look like sunflower stumps. They could look like sunflower.
They very well could be. I mean, I'm pretty sure these are gourds because that's what they were listed as. But I'd have to look at sunflower stumps. But if I
They're
remember
huge,
correctly,
yeah.
they're really striated.
Remember
and
the
long.
giant sunflower we had for?
Yeah.
Someone asked if you ever think of dried coral for reference.
I saw a piece of coral recently. The coral, the only thing is I want to make sure it's very
It's not legal.
And it's
It
not
might
something
not
that's
depleting the.
yeah, I want something that's sustainable that isn't gonna, you know, because I found a piece of coral on Etsy that people were selling, but I didn't research it yet. I want to make sure that what they're selling is something that I'll feel good about using.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Just like there are certain kinds of, I guess, natural sponges you shouldn't buy, as far as last I looked. But I don't
really?
even know if they sell them anymore.
Ah.
Like
Is it-
today I was looking up sinew. Which,
Cheers from New York is what they
Oh.
say here.
New York. I love New York.
Is that my sinew?
No, this came with this, but I think this is actually fake sinew.
Yeah.
This is like thread that's been waxed, because real sinew actually looks like thin beef jerky that you have to, like, black strap sinew. You have to hammer it to make it fibers, and you peel the fibers off, and then you have something that looks like real tendon. Not that that's that important for anything. Fake tendon works great for reference. But
Yeah, we don't need to have the real.
well, the thing is that people who want to reconstruct something like for a museum, that's where, when I was researching it, they said most of the time it's for reconstruction in a museum.
I know, because
Like-
real sinew is actually expensive. Remember, Stephanie gave me some.
Well, you can get
'Cause I was using it in my basket.
you can get a strap, like a single, like a 12-inch piece of
No,
sinew.
already like thin
Oh, like
rope.
that?
Yeah, like that.
I
That's
mean,
more expensive.
It's really hard to even find,
I know.
you know,
Because
online.
I think
that sells it like
Stephanie
this.
gave me some that she had found.
But this is fake. This is just
Waxed something.
wax coated thread, basically,
Yeah.
or string. But
All right, draw me something.
so this was just like a scribble, but right now it's kind of compelling to me. Where I put my pencil sharp.
Your pencil sharpener. How could you have lost your pencil sharpener?
I lose everything at least once a day.
That's why I don't pick up very much. Do you ever trade materials for prints? Yes.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, that's the best way to do it. That's the way that gets me in the least amount of trouble. Is trading.
You're talking about me,
Yeah, I am.
but we always declare it on our taxes.
Yeah, no, everything gets declared. But actually, Vicky is very tolerant with the weirdness that comes into the house.
We're not this. The whole discussion about the mummified raccoon is not going to happen.
I decided against the raccoon too because it was too big. I mean, that would be this
Yeah,
big.
no.
You know?
No. And when you say I'll keep it in my room, there's
I'll-
no space in the room to
I'll take
keep
care
it.
of it. This is true.
See? No space.
The last thing I got last week was
Amy Baker asked how you could lose your sharpener.
Oh, because I have about 80 of them, and I only, like, it's funny because I'll pick one that I'll be in love with for like 3 or 4 weeks, and I'll just use that one. I know where there's a bunch, there's a ton of them in the drawer with it, but it's that one, and it looks exactly like the other ones in the drawer. But it's
You're
just,
crazy.
it's probably a mental illness on my part, I'm guessing.
She said she's judging you.
That's okay. I'm not afraid to be judged.
I was here like that.
Not with hair like this.
She said you have a bazillion of them. It's true, he does.
I do. So my table is flat this week.
Oh yeah, why is it so
Because
flat?
I've been stacking reference stuff on it, because I've been working
Ah.
on that.
Yes.
I did that so you would show it.
Oh, okay. The painting
So
from last
that's
week.
from last week, and it's changed considerably.
Yes, but that's all they get.
So,
Because you're going to be done with it tonight, right?
theoretically. I'm working on my EDO tonight,
Right. Everyday Original?
Yeah.
Go up on the 23rd.
which is not what this is really, but
Are you sure?
yeah, I don't know, because I've been doing the imperfections for EDO, and I think I'll probably do another one of those. I'm still exploring that kind of theme,
Sorry.
you know.
Excuse me. It's like we did a roll call last week because of the World Cup going on.
Oh, that was awesome though. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. So there were a lot of people from all over the world last night. That's part, you know, that's one of the things I was telling Duncan about. It's one of the things that I like the most about doing it is getting to say hi to people from everywhere in the world.
I know.
You know? It's like I want reasons to go all those places, you know?
Oh, I know.
And the reason would be just to go there. You know?
Maybe Italy next summer.
Oh, that would be cool.
Amy Baker says I'm going to sport that hairstyle too and call it the Allen.
You can. It is an accommodating hairstyle that
Keeps your hair out of
keeps your hair out, and out of your eyes.
That's the only reason.
Well, that and Maeve likes it because
Cool.
she likes to wear her hair in ponytails. And I think I mentioned this before. We had a big discussion about whether or not superheroes could have ponytails, and I said if I were a superhero, I would demand to have ponytails. You know, and nobody could stop me because it'd be like. But then I realized, you know, I'm still just, you know, a person. As a person, I can have ponytails, and really nobody can do anything about it.
No. Slim Things has so much respect from Colombia.
Oh, thank you, Colombia. And
And hi from Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia. That's awesome. I think that's like one of the, you know, I was thinking, we were talking about this earlier about how, you know, Duncan has access, you know, he's living in a world where he's going to grow up being able to talk to people from everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and pretty much all the kids alive now that are, you know, they're growing up that way. And they don't resist it really, they do it. And they start to realize that there's so many things that are so common to all of our lives that, you know, we can really relate to and, you know,
Each other.
yeah.
That we aren't that different.
Yeah.
Hi from Toronto.
Toronto. I love Toronto. I went and stayed in Toronto when we were working on the film. And we were on Pacific Rim up in Toronto.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I like Toronto because they use like super heavy cream in their coffee.
That can't be good for your heart.
I'm sure it's not. Everywhere I went, though, had 17% heavy cream or whatever
Heavy
it was.
cream
It was
for
like
your
it was like
coffee.
sweet butter in the coffee.
Yeah.
So,
We could have music, but then they would take down the video.
yeah, yeah. But I'm pretty excited though because we'll get to pick some of that music as long as he likes, you know, the cover. Everything will work out good.
What are you doing there?
This I'm just throwing some details in to see what shows up.
What comes up?
Yeah. So
Wait, I've seen a few things you have done with graphite and digital in the same piece. How much digital do you do?
usually, if I usually start off with graphite, like in this phase, and then once I finish the drawing, if there's color in it, you know, and it's a production piece for like a book or a cup, you know, something that will be digital. It's almost always has to do with color.
Right.
But actually,
Some of the magic cards were digitally
yeah,
painted.
the magic cards that I've done were digitally painted. I prefer to paint, you know, traditional with oil, but I still, you know, I enjoy the fact that you know that I can jump into the digital stuff whenever I want. So I'm kind of a hybrid when it comes to that. All my personal work though is traditional, just because I like the tangibility of the thing when I'm done. You know, that it has a look to it that isn't really reproducible in any other format that it exists.
Right. The prints are not going to look like the original.
Right. Whereas whenever I do digital, actually the prints can vary depending on who prints it,
Right.
and the image can vary depending on who sees it on what computer and whether or not it's color corrected.
Mm-hmm.
But with an original, that's the way it is, you know. And then there's always that kind of surprise when you have a print or you see it online and then you go see it in reality and it's different. There's more to it.
Right.
You know, I like that.
Anya Arcane says she finally didn't miss the Saturday.
Cool.
Happy to me among other art nerds.
Cool.
She's studying texture tonight.
Oh yeah, that's you know, it's funny. It's like texture and detail are very close to me to being the same thing. It just depends on the scale, right? So if it's large like this, becomes all detail. But if I shrink it down and did the whole piece, it would all become texture, right? So
It's not opposite?
Huh? No, if this
Yes.
gets smaller, it becomes a texture.
Oh, yeah.
If it gets bigger,
Gotcha.
then you can start working. Because sometimes that's what happens is I'll do like a small sketch and then blow it up, and then those little tiny things that look like pleasing texture turn into kind of details. You know. And the other thing I wanted to mention that I thought about just last week is a lot of times people will talk about how their sketches have more life than their finished piece, and that specifically with my stuff, I notice that sometimes, and it's because of all these extra random energy lines. Because all this stuff has all this frantic energy to it, right? And then as you start to tighten up on a piece, you start to isolate lines and define shapes and things like that. It takes all of this frenetic energy that you see bouncing around here as you're sketching kind of goes away. So they're kind of two different things in that respect, you know, because there are people that can paint like this, though. And that's what, I mean, people enjoy that quite a bit, and that's kind of what I'm getting into in some of the smaller areas, and some of the stuff I'm working in is trying to leave some of that spontaneous energy of this
and not just
of the process. You know?
Make it hyper realistic all over.
Right. You know, I like I like hyper realistic painting. I feel like that for me, I would do one or two of those and then go, okay, well, I want to, you know, move on to do something more exploratory, I guess you could say. Because I guess, you know, different people have different goals for what they do. You know, not to say that hyperrealism is in any way bad. I don't like telling anybody what they should do in terms of art.
Yes.
You know, because I don't.
Kala Art asks, how do you stay motivated when you have an off day or your drawing just isn't as good as normal? I stopped drawing for a while, and it seems like my skill level has deteriorated.
I hope it helps to tell you that I have hours in the day where I go through that, where I'll feel like I can't draw anything, and then I'll just pause. For me, usually if I'm having a moment where nothing seems to be working, I'll just go somewhere and sit down and just sit there for a while and think about whatever it is that I was wanting to do, or think about something else entirely, and then I'll come back to it. But I think that you should know that that's a part of a normal process for a lot of people, is feeling as you start something that you don't know what you're doing and it isn't working. Every painting I've ever done has gone through a phase of I hate this, it doesn't look good, maybe 5 times or more in the middle of a painting. Yeah.
Sometimes daily.
Well, sometimes hour to hour, you know, and I hate leaving something at what we call the fuzzy stage, because a lot of times, like, this would be a fuzzy stage right now because it's not clearly defined, and I think it still looks like you can see where I would like to go with it, but there are times in a painting where it just looks like I'm like lost. But that's not really necessarily a bad thing. It's just that you haven't started to refine certain things yet, or you haven't started to clarify things. You know, but yeah, it's not something that, I mean, it's something that happens, I think, a lot, all the time. And how do you get through it? First, you have to trust that you can. I think that's the big thing, is that a lot of times people stop because they don't know that they can get through it. And
if you feel like your skill level is deteriorated, it's only because you haven't done it for a while.
And
it's just you just have to keep practicing.
The secret is to do it so much, to keep doing it, that you forget to be afraid to do it.
That's what we're talking about with driving.
We were talking about this with teaching my kid to drive, and he's very tense about it. And I said, well, what happens is you practice enough that you forget to be tense.
Right.
And it's not that you're not, it's just that you forget it. It's like anything else. You forget.
That's how you get more confident. That's
forget,
what we were talking about, confidence.
Confidence, in many ways, begins with just forgetting to not be confident.
Right.
It's like, oh, I've done this before, you know, and you know, and then it eventually turns into I can do this rather than I can't do this, or, you know, whatever. So I would say it's not the same thing as being on a block, though. So like if you're sitting down and you just can't think of anything to draw, then I would do studies, which is mostly about refining your observation skill. You know, figure drawing to me isn't so much about memorizing what a figure looks like, but refining my ability to observe what a figure does, and letting myself let go of my assumptions about what figures do in certain lights and things like that. I can make up a certain kind of light, and I can get it about 80% there, maybe 90% sometimes, but the last 10% usually comes from reality. You know, I can get it to a believable point depending on the level of the piece, you know, but real light comes from real observation, you know.
Yeah. But, photo reference and everything.
Yeah.
Regards from Mexico.
Oh, cool, Mexico.
Nocturna says she goes through that. Barbara says she goes through that with that stage with each of them. She has to put it in the closet.
You know, I do that. I'll get, like, even this painting here, I'll pause when I'm like at a point where I'm okay, I don't know if I'm finished or if there's something else that needs to be done, and I'll just let it sit for a while. And sometimes I'll sit it in the other room so that I only see it in passing. And then as I'm working on something else, one day I'll pass it and I'll go, oh, wouldn't it be cool if this happened? And then suddenly I'll go, oh, that's probably what should happen there, you know?
Yeah.
And I'll finish it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can, if you have the luxury of being able to work that way in your own personal work, it's really, it's fun, it's calming to do that, to know that you can sit it around and look at it for a while. Sometimes you can't. Like a lot of stuff I'm doing now is going for a solo show. So I have a little bit of time to do that, but I still have to be able to have a plan.
Yes, he has to have a plan. Along those lines, how do you get past the starting career fright? Is this worth it stage?
Well, that's so when I decided that I was going to be an artist, I literally I can remember sitting like I was in a college, a 2-year college, and I would tell myself this: I don't know what it means to be an artist yet because I hadn't done enough of it. I hadn't been a professional. But I would sit there and say, I don't know what this means yet, but I'm going to do it or I'm going to die trying, which I think is a pretty extreme way of looking at it. I didn't really have a backup plan. But one of the things is that I assumed, and I don't know where this assumption came from. It didn't come from like the history of my family or anything like that, but I assumed that if there was something I wanted to be able to learn, that I could learn it. And I believe everybody really has the potential to learn what they're really interested in learning. That initial phase of getting over people, the first thing I had to get over was people coming up to me and saying, you know, you can't make a living as an artist.
Well, exactly.
And then I realized that the people that were saying that were the people who hadn't really tried that hard to make a living as an artist.
Right.
They were people who maybe got involved in it but had never really invested in it, you know. Because every professional artist I talked to said, yeah, I know tons of people that are making a living doing art, you know. Now, relative to the amount of people who claim to be professional artists, that might be pretty low. But a lot of people who claim to be professional artists on their taxes or whatever tend not to work it like a 9-to-5 job or work it as a business. They tend to work it more as most people do, like pastimes a lot, which is why let's see, a few years back, the statistic was 98% of the people who claimed to be professional artists made less than $2,000 a year, claimed less than $2,000 a year on their taxes. There's probably some change in that, currently, but that didn't take into account that a great majority of people, don't spend the kind of time. I mean, they don't spend 40 to 80 hours a week doing work. I spend at minimum 40 hours a week, but I work kind of 7 days a week. So it's not always 8-hour days.
Not straight, yeah.
And it's not always linear time. I don't sometimes I'll work 2 hours here, do something for 3 hours, and come back and work another 4, and then do something else.
So Arbog said he watched an interview where you said something about learning to love the process.
Yeah, that in itself is a challenge for some people, because what I don't really do is get attached to the finished piece. I will assess it, I'll look at it, and sometimes if it doesn't sell right away, I'll get attached to having it around. But what I actually like to do is the work itself, to sit down and do it. I like doing it. I don't like having done it. There's a story I like to tell about a writer who told me that they had a partner that would write books with them, but they didn't actually like to write books. They liked to have written books and then talk about them.
But
they didn't like
remember
the process.
This person.
Yeah, they didn't actually like to sit down and do the work of writing the book, but they like to have that
finished product.
A finished product. To me, I like the process of doing it, and if I like the process, then there's value in that for me beyond the money to be made in it. Because this is, if I'm going to spend a lot of my life doing something,
right,
I really want to enjoy doing it, and this is something I really do, and I really do enjoy doing. It's like a meditation for me. It's like somebody basically paying me to sit and be calm for a while, which is, doesn't really indicate how much time I do spend walking around the house frustrated because something's not working.
Oh, he's always, yeah. I read a thread on Twitter that was talking about how someone was like, all the artists ever talk about how wonderful this is and how they can do this creatively, and never the hardships of, how difficult some things are. And I'm like,
Well,
I don't.
I have in the past worked different jobs when I was younger, And I'll tell you that it's not the same kind of difficulty that you have, like, say, loading a truck full of hay bales, because I've done that before. But, I mean, it has its own, it's relative to your, to who you are. Everything that you do is relative. Like, what I perceive as an easy day for some people might be really frustrating, The fact that I know that part of my day is being frustrated means that I don't really not enjoy being frustrated. I just know it's part of my process.
Right.
And that if I'm not frustrated, that means I'm not pushing myself in a direction where I'm learning something in the work that I'm doing.
What pencil are you using there?
This is a Blackwing. This is one of the Palomino Blackwings.
Palomino Blackwing.
Yeah, I just picked up something a little different this time, but that's what this one is. But I mean, like I said, you can use any pencil that you feel comfortable with. You just have to know its limitations and whether or not it'll make the kind of values that you want.
You ever heard about George Leonard's Mastery?
George? No, I'll have to look it up now. What was it? George Leonard? Mm-hmm. Mastery? I'll have to look it up. George Leonard. How's it spelled? M-E-A?
Mestry. So I've been framing pieces for, we should say, we've been doing this for half an hour. Our website is Alan Williams Studio. The YouTube channel where these all come out on after a couple weeks is Alan Williams Studio. We have a Patreon, and that's at patreon.com/Alan Williams. You can always, of course, follow us here on, where are we?
Huh?
Instagram, that's
It's
it.
Instagram.
The heat fried my brain in the garage because I frame stuff in the garage.
What I like about the idea of Patreon is that if you get a lot of people to follow you for very little money, you can give away a lot of actual, you can spend time to give away a lot. Mm-hmm. Like if people follow you, I'm not trying to sell it to you guys. I'm just saying that if you're into doing it, it's something I think it's worth doing for an artist, because it allows you, if you get people to follow you, that they don't have to feel like they're spending a ton of money in it, because if you get enough people to follow you, it can help support you, but you can give away a lot more than what each individual person is paying for. Mm-hmm. Like they may give you $1, a month, but you can give away, you can put your process, or you can just do it for free if you have the I guess the luxury of being able to do that, to have the time to do it and not have to worry about it. But
Right.
I think if you've got like a cool process that you would like to be able to share with people, that's an easy way to kind of, I guess you could say, fund it, that doesn't cost people a lot of money. I don't know.
What do you feel about Castell?
Faber, I use, for the longest time I use Faber-Castell. They're fine. They tend to run harder than I anticipate them to be. You know what I mean?
Because Amy Baker said these are the real soft ones.
Yeah.
The Palominos.
Oh, the Palominos are very soft. I always work in very soft lead, though. I tend to work in HB and softer. I don't really go above that much.
Crabber Class. How do I choose giveaway recipients? You know what? We actually never done a giveaway.
I've not done a giveaway, but I would. Here's what I would do. I would go through and alphabetically. Can you do your recipient, your people? I would say if you have 300 followers or 300 people, you would randomly go to a random number generator online and set it up to do a random number between 1 and 300 and just find out who corresponds to that number.
See, he says this is what I would do, but everybody knows this is what I would be doing. No, I'm teasing. I'll make you do it.
But that seems like the easiest way to me. I mean,
yeah, no, I know other people that use random.
You assign them a number and then use a random number generator.
I know, and it's something I have to do. It's just
And even if it's a number from say 1 to 150, and somebody in your friend group guesses 25, and you go to your friends list and your follower list and count down 25. To the 25th person.
Right.
So,
but there's rules about giveaways on Patreon, so I have to look that up and everything. Yeah, you can't require them to be patrons and things like that. Right. You have to open it up to everyone.
You have to open it up as an open sign up or something like that.
So I know.
I know we used to do it at some of the shows we were at, and we found out in many states it's actually illegal to have it's kind of a raffle.
Yes.
So it's sort of illegal to do that in some states.
So if you're going to a convention or a show and you're going to do that, make sure of what state you're in, what the rules are, and if you're allowed to do that.
So speaking of that, later this year we'll be at Dragon Con.
Dragon Con is over Labor Day.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm one of the jurors for the art show at Dragon Con this year.
Harbog asked if you ever thought about drawing some tarot cards.
I think about it. It's a huge endeavor, though, right? I've had people suggest it or talk to me about it before. Possibly, I might be able to manage like an oracle type deck of cards rather than the full suit. But
we were also just talking about card sets.
Because I do think of the work that I do in terms of a lot of metaphor and meaning involved in it. You know, so I think that other people would find, you know, their own interpretations in there as well, which I think would probably work well for something like that. I think, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I actually been thinking about also I posted this on my Facebook page today as like doing a short kind of a graphic novel.
That was cool.
That would it'd probably take me a year to do it.
You kill me! Oh my god, it's so cool looking.
But I think Vicky will post it on here on Instagram,
yes, I'll
maybe
post
tomorrow.
It. Okay.
So
Yeah,
it's just a few panels that I set up of some artwork that I had done that I noticed kind of could be used in a narrative, and I think I would really have a lot of fun doing that. The big drawback for any of that ever is that it takes a lot of stamina, you know, and once you're 3 months into it, you know, you have to approach it with the same level of intensity that you do at the beginning. So
Amy Baker says I need my own Patreon to train spouses.
Oh, I think you'd probably be successful at it. Yeah, probably be pretty successful.
An artist, Caroline, said she's excited about meeting us at Dragon Con.
Oh, that'll be fun.
And hopes you'll look at her work.
I definitely will. Just come up and say hi. Yeah.
And let's see, here's some other ones. Anya Arcane says, would you be open to giving advice or critiques on a tier of your Patreon?
Actually, we've been talking about that recently.
Yes, we have been.
Yeah. So yeah, it's something we've been considering doing. So I would say yes, we would be open to that. We'll figure it out. But for the time being, if you ever just want to email me, you know, you can start there until we get something set up.
And Crabberclaw asked, how did you get into doing magic cards?
How I got into it was being like one of the people that weren't working anywhere else when magic first started.
Yeah, like in 1994.
Yeah. So originally they came to a lot of people and asked them to do cards for what amounted to very little money and a little bit of stock. And to be honest, most of the people that were professional in the industry at the time, you know, they were too busy doing jobs where they were, you know, getting a paycheck. So they got a lot of people that had never been heard of before, or that had just started. So a lot of people, you know, got started that way. So I started with Ice Age, which was the second deck that they ever came out with. But I actually got my descriptions for Ice Age before the very first set of Magic cards ever came out.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
They hadn't come out.
And for a long time, I had an alpha deck that was unsealed in a box, and I think I eventually sold it, but
traded it.
Yeah.
Something. What about the book for next year? Yes, it's going to be kickstarted.
Vicky is working on that. It's relates to the show at Copro. I think it'll be called The Covenant.
Yes.
Yeah, which is a different book than what I'm talking about doing in terms of a graphic, not like a narrative in a graphic novel format. I'm not even sure, like, at this point, if I can do it, but I think it would be interesting to give it a shot.
Of course you can do it.
Oh, well,
everything you've decided you wanted to do, you've always ended up doing.
Well, I will have to tell you this,
and
this is the one piece of advice that I think, you know, it's hard to say that this will work for everybody because, you know, who knows. But I have noticed that whenever I've really wanted to do something, I've had to ask somebody. I didn't wait for somebody to tell me that I could do it or come up and hire me to do it. I went and asked them if I could do it. For instance, the fact that I'm going to be doing an album cover, this happened because I liked the music that I was listening to, and I thought, what the hell, I'll email them.
What are they going to say? No?
Yeah,
and
the worst that they could say is no.
Oh,
in
no,
which
we don't
case,
do that.
You know,
then you're not any
So
it's not different from where you are.
right. So I emailed them and said, look, I do this kind of artwork, and I would really, like to be able to use some of your music. I will pay you for a licensing fee, or we could maybe possibly, work out something where I'll do a cover for you. And so they were up for the cover, which I was surprised actually, because I was willing, if it was something I could afford, which a lot of times that stuff is exclusive. You can't really afford it because it's
right.
And this person is pretty popular, I think. I love his work. I'll tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of the Annihilation soundtrack a little bit.
Someone asked, do you use ballpoint pen to draw? Yeah,
I do
The
sometimes.
beginning of the live feed, you can go back and watch it. He's got a whole bunch of new ones.
Yeah, I went on a jet pens binge this week, and I've got some more coming.
Oh, God.
But I have these colored zebra, which are the ones that I like. I don't know how archival this stuff is, though. So I have friends that
He's not telling what band yet, so
I can't say who it is yet because I want it to
work out.
get further along in the process and work out. And I'd hate to say it and then have it fall through, but
Now it looks like the profile of a face.
well, yeah, that's kind of what it's meant to. So
It is 9:45 already.
really, so this
Yes,
is
it is. It is 9:45, and you guys know where to find us online at AlanWilliamsStudio.com, at YouTube at Alan Williams Studio. He does use ballpoint pens, not for any of this. He's just bought some more. There's some in his sketchbook.
yeah. I'll show you real quick if they're watching. I'll use them for sketching because that way I don't. It forces me not to go too far in the sketch.
Right.
But as that stands, I can still render with them a little bit, so I could roughly render something out.
On your arcade, she asked, do you like the Etcher field case? And I forgot. I have to put it out there because you can get a discount if you use...
I love the Etcher, and they sent us a thing where we can actually offer a discount on it because as a supporter of it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They said I had an option of
the code Alan
yeah,
Williams.
Yeah.
You can type in Alan Williams and get 10% off.
I think it's 10% off. Yeah, and I'm not.
Post that up
I'm
there.
not. Yeah, I don't get a kickback for that. It's just something that we get to offer people because
Yes.
Darren is a great guy and he works his ass off to make good products.
Oh, yes.
And it is a solid.
Thank you for the reminder on
Yeah.
it.
So.
Oh, Barbara says she loves her Etcher gear.
So I write stuff also, the narratives, and this is actually a kind of a weird poem that I wrote. But when I'm drawing, I'll have these things that occur to me, like this line: "Through this congregation of lines, we meet in metaphor." So and it kind of goes along with the stuff that I'm.
I like this one.
Huh?
Nope, go back.
Oh, her.
I like her.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, and I'll do like these. Like this is actually a landscape, which I haven't done a lot of, but I'm about to get into some. But anyway, I do like playing with ink pens quite a bit. So I love seeing the people online who do like almost photorealistic drawings with ballpoint pens.
Ballpoint pens.
Yeah, that's insane. You can't erase with them, obviously. They don't. You just have to know what you're doing right away and have, I guess, the proper reference for what you're working on. But again, I've been told there are pens that are more archival than others, but I don't know what the nature of them, what they are yet. So I'm going to look into that too. I don't really care about archival quality on my sketchbooks. They stay closed most of the time, and archival generally has more to do with whether it stands to the light or not. But if I were doing a piece that was going to be sold to somebody in a frame that was meant to be out, I would have to know that it wouldn't disappear in a
10
year.
years.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, and remember, I like to tell people it doesn't matter what kind of glass you have on it. If you stick it so the sun is shining in your window and on your art,
It'll
it's going
eventually
to burn
fade.
through that
Yeah.
UV coating, and it will fade your piece.
I did a piece that this reminds me of, and I called it Hermes because of this. It looks like that winged helmet kind of thing.
Barbara is asking, she's having to sand the edges of her ampersand hardboards. Do you think it's a bad batch, or are we having issues with them?
The only time I have to sand it usually is when I've cut it myself, because I'll cut ampersand into smaller pieces or different size pieces, odd size.
Now there are tiny little edges, some of it,
Yeah.
but it's not enough that.
And
like frame.
sometimes the very corners will like chip a little bit, but that's going to be underneath the edge of a frame.
Right,
And I
right.
usually will work over that.
Right.
But I'm not. I don't think it's atypical. You know.
These are zebras.
Yeah. And
Zebra print.
these are actually some of, you can get these at like gas stations pretty much.
The zebras.
Maybe not the colored ones, but
And these are the Signo.
Signo. This is these are really good white if you're using white to draw onto a like a tone paper. This is very light white, and this is I think it's a zebra, but it's Pilot, and it's called a Juice Up, which is a weird name for a pen. But and then the sketch ones are Signo as well, and they come in like different sizes from 0.7 all the way down to 0.28.
Yeah.
So.
He gave me one of the tiny ones, and I was like, I can't write with this. I'm stabbing through the paper.
And I get all this stuff through JetPens, which is
JetPens.com.
Yeah.
Which I wish we did get a kickback because.
yeah, and yeah, you can tell
Jeez.
them that I sent you if there's a note where you can leave a customer comment. It won't do you any good. They don't know me, but it'd be fun if it would be fun to have them start going, who the hell is this? You know,
Yeah, that's right.
why does he keep sending people here?
Maybe we should do a giveaway with it.
Maybe they'll send me an eraser or something.
Oh. Meadowlark says, my work takes a while to complete. Do you think it's better to do shorter projects more frequently when you're trying to build up a following?
I think if you're looking at a following online, that if you're doing a long completion things, you either have to do constant updates and show them progress, or in the between things, maybe do smaller pieces or studies of the piece you're doing if you want to stay on target. I do small pieces between large pieces. That's kind of how it works now. Like my EDO piece will probably be 5x7, and that'll go up. And Vicki also posts work from the past.
Yeah,
like the stuff that she's posted recently. A couple pieces have been from
Older
a few years
pieces?
back, and of course she does that, and I kind of cringe because I'm like, oh, I don't like that.
I don't
But-
do the cringy ones.
No, but I cringe at everything that's like more than a year old anyway. But that's just the way it is. So I'll always do that. It's just because I'm, if you're progressing, you look at something you did a long time ago and you go, I would do that differently now. What's fun is actually to do that thing where you go back and revisit a theme that you worked on. And I guess you can only hope that people will like it
the
better
newer
now.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times you do get a lot of people that go, oh, I like the old way you did things better.
Yes.
And
People do that.
that's just normal.
But I like your cute dragons.
People
Yeah,
people
it's not gonna happen.
people get attached to the way that they see you in at certain times, and if you deviate from that, it sometimes throws them for a little bit of a loop. But but that's okay. You need to do what you need to do. It's okay if you grow in and out of people's aesthetic. As
Yeah.
long as you're growing towards your own.
Yeah, I don't know that you'll ever keep all of the followers you're never going to keep everybody happy.
No. I took the same approach when we started inviting people to like our Facebook page. I said, well, really only like two things are going to happen. Either they're not going to want to see it, in which case they're not going to go there, in which case it wouldn't do me any good if they liked my page anyway.
Right.
Or they're going to like it and go there and want to see it,
Right. Is that a Moleskine sketchbook? that you
This,
had up? No,
oh, this
no,
is a
no.
Moleskine. Yeah, it's one of the storyboard sketchbooks. I like it because of the little panels you can play with. And the fact that it has panels printed into it also make it so that I don't want to do finished art on it and spend too much time on anything in particular. I have to trick myself into not spending too much time on things.
Yeah.
So
You've gotten really,
I've gotten better at it.
really good at
You know,
being focused.
well, lately I've wanted there to be a purpose for what I'm doing rather than just a random exploration. I want it to be a purposeful exploration, but I still allow myself occasionally to have random explorations too. As long as you can, you always do those things that you love to do. No matter what you learn, don't forget what you love. You can learn how to do things the proper academic way, but don't forget to sometimes do things the way
Play?
that you like to do them, the way that you like to play. Yeah, you have to play with it. It becomes too much of a job if everything becomes academic all the time, and you don't get to, randomly, follow your nose through a piece and fumble your way through it if that's what you like to do, which is a lot of times what I do like to do.
Yes.
even though it's frustrating sometimes, but to her and to me.
Yeah. Oh, you were talking about me?
Well, it's frustrating to me too sometimes
Oh, yeah.
because you get to a point where sometimes you get lost or it doesn't work. But you know, everything contributes in the end. You know, and you know,
It all's working towards a
Yeah.
goal. It's okay. Little Ark says thanks for the helpful advice.
oh, anytime. If you have anything else that we could, if I can answer any question, just email me.
The way you do your own thing is inspiring. And Inktech said it's the first time they gotten to see someone else draw with a Blackwing.
Oh yeah, I have a lot of black. I like them actually. I just don't draw with them that often because of habit. I like Mitsubishi Heine 10, the 10Bs, which are really soft, and then the Tombow Mono 4 and 6Bs, which are also very black.
We're gonna be out of here in about 5 minutes.
But Blackwings are they're in like I'd say those are my top 3 favorites.
So Rodrigo asked, he ended up purchasing the Daylight Smart clip-on lamps that you recommended.
Oh yeah,
Curious if you modified it with industrial Velcro or something else to keep it sturdy when you're not using the clip.
that clip doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know if it does to you or not, but it has these weird ridges in it. When you clip it onto a sketchbook, it'll like leave track marks. I don't understand why you would make a clip-on light that would leave track marks in your sketchbook. So I actually carry a board with me,
one of your
these
boards like this.
and I clip it to the board.
Oh, okay, that's right.
So, and sometimes I'll actually, you know, you might even be able to get rid of that clip and come up with a C-clamp.
Yeah, or something.
That would work better.
Yeah.
Yeah. The clip on those things doesn't make any sense at all to me. But
He clips it to his
he's talking
board
about,
thing.
Here, I'll grab it. He's talking about this. If this is the one that he got, this is the one that I have. So, and I'll use this when I'm like sitting in the living room or whatever. It's out of batteries right now, but it's a touch sensitive thing, and it has a balanced daylight. But see this clip here? It's like made to clip so you can work, but I mean this thing puts giant dents in your sketchbook. If they're listening, Daylight, get rid of this.
It needs to
Get
come
rid of
across.
these teeth. These teeth are not good for sketchbooks. You know? I guess all you'd have to do really would be to file that down and maybe put a rubber pad right there, and it wouldn't do that. So that would be an easy solution, I think. Because it has a tiny little rubber pad right there that it can't get to because of this.
What?
Because of these teeth.
Maybe there's supposed to be another rubber pad in there.
I don't know. But it just doesn't do that. So I would get...
But
I
you
would,
like that thing.
I would,
And it gets recharged by USB, right?
Yeah, it has a USB cord that you can recharge, and then you can use one of those cell phone battery chargers and plug
stick
into it,
that
and
on
it'll
there.
work all day.
Ah.
You know, but this is the light. This is
It
one-
must be storming out.
Why?
Cause
is the dog's in here?
The dog is in here again.
Whenever there's thunder within 100 miles, the dog comes and sits underneath us.
Is that an original Blackwing?
This
602s?
it actually doesn't have a number on it, but I get also these from JetPens, so it's a Palomino Blackwing.
Oh.
So I believe so. The 602s are the dark ones.
The gray ones,
I
you
own,
said.
oh, the gray ones.
602s are gray.
Yeah, these are the darkest ones. There's the dark one. They have like 2 grades of hardness, I believe. I mean, there's dark and then a little bit less.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's why he hooks his light up to the battery.
yeah, I got like
Charger,
I plugged the USB charger from that straight into a cell phone charger, and it'll keep this light powered pretty much all day.
You know, I got some foam you can put on that thing that'll...
Yeah, that's what it would work.
And just
See.
some of that foamy from...
All I have to do is I'll take my Dremel and file this off.
No,
grind
I
this.
think the foam, if you stick it on there, the foam will come down past it. So
Possibly.
it'll keep the foam
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah, but then because you can tell I'm not going to do it because it destroys the sketchbook. But if you clip that on, it puts giant teeth marks, like vampire teeth marks in your sketchbook.
Someone's design didn't quite... All right, it's almost the end of our thing. It's 9:57. What time did we start?
Like a little after 9.
Barbara said there are white pearl palominos, too.
White pearl Palomino's.
Don't tell him that.
I know. I get updates from what is it? There's a one pencil place. I forget what it's called. It might be
Barbara recommended Cult pencils, too.
Cult Pencils.
Pens
Oh,
or
Cult Pens is great. Yeah, I've ordered from them before. From PencilThings.com.
Oh,
There's another one.
Pencil things.
JetPens. I order a lot from JetPens. And I think there's a place. I forget if it's called iPencil or something
The
like
one
that.
in Minnesota that you got stuff from. Or is that just some guy?
Oh, that's Wet Paint. Minnesota is a store. There's a store called Wet Paint that's really good. but I see that they have special edition Palominos that come out that are like in limited edition boxes, and they have like a really cool like a point protector that like you can get with them, which I've never bought, but
Everyone says thank you for the information and thanks for the Saturday evenings.
anytime, you know. Like I say, this is my social interaction for the week.
All right. Well, you guys find us online, either at our Patreon, which is patreon.com/Alan Williams, or on YouTube, Alan Williams Studio. And our website is Alan Williams Studios.
So I wanted to mention something real quick on Patreon. There's a guy who just started his Patreon page. His name's, I think it's Ivan Solyev, who does digital work that looks like this beautifully dark contrast pencil work. So he has like 7 followers, and I think he deserves a lot more than that because he does this very unique black and white digital work. So go on. It's what is it? Patreon.com/
You got to write his name out.
Patreon.com/ AEV. This is an L.
S-O-L.
SOLYAEV. I went and followed him today, and he does. He hasn't put up much yet, but he does beautiful work. If you've never seen it, look up Ivan Solyev. Okay. Ivan spelled like Ivan normally is, but.
My sleepless nights are made better by your streams. Thank you, guys.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Alec will be back next week.
My psychology is made better by your interaction.
It is true. Yes.
I tend to want to hole up and be a hermit, and the interaction we have here, as you know, distant as it is, maybe as distant as it is, you know, from each other, it's still a lot of fun for me.
Yes. Thank you guys for being so kind, chatting with us. Nice.
I don't know what this will end up being yet, but it might be something.
I kind of like it. I like it that it's faceless.
Yeah.
They're all saying thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. So. I like the colored hearts. It makes me happy.
Oh. I do too. It's really cool. So, I wonder if a lot of the people are the same from one week to the next, or is it different? Or there's probably a few people that are the same, and then a lot of people are different.
I don't know. I see a lot of the same names coming in and jumping in.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much for stopping by and listening to our my rambling. You're actually focused and know what you're doing.
Well, I've started actually trying to think about what I could talk about during the week instead of just.
What inspired you to write the book?
The book that I wrote, the young adult novel Witch's Kitchen. You know,
That's longer than you.
It's like 55,000 words, and the thing that mostly inspired it was I started doing artwork that led me to a story.
Right.
And it was just being able to follow my nose in a story that was my own creation. And once I established the voices of the characters, it was almost as if it was kind of like they started writing the book for me, because I let the book kind of go towards a conclusion that sort of changed from one side to the other.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. But everything that we talk about inspiration and about where ideas come from, and the simple truth is that it comes from everything that you do and everything you see. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
All right, folks. We're going to say goodnight, and we will see you next week.
Yep.
Draw something, paint something.
Even if it's
create something.
Even if it's only 10 minutes a day.
Cook something.
You know.
Whatever you do to create.
Yeah, a little bit done a lot equals a lot.
Right. Little done often.
Little done often equals much is the way it goes, I guess.
Exactly. All right. We'll talk to you guys later. Goodbye.